The Arctic doesn't care about your ego, neither does the machine. 20 years in the polar regions taught me three things. The ice doesn't care who you are, asking for help is survival, and tools respond to what you do. That's what we're talking about today. For those who don't know, I'm Polar Chef Ben. This is our weekly live. Every Wednesday, I share what I've learned from 20 years in the polar regions. Today, I'm talking about ego, help, and AI. If you want to go deeper and find everything that I do, this is for the tours, the cafe, for the community, scan this code, everything at polarchefben.com. And if you're new here, hit subscribe so you don't miss next week. Welcome back to those who have been here before. And if this is your first time, welcome. Thank you for showing up at 6 a.m. I see you in the chat. All right, grab your coffee. Let's get into it. What 20 years in the Arctic, from Svalbard to Antarctica, taught me about survival and ego. The ice doesn't care who you are. It just creaks or it holds. You learn to let go of what doesn't matter. Smear. The ice doesn't care about your title or your followers or your money. When you're standing out on the ice, or if you're going to some place where you're not sure about the ice, you have to check first, because it doesn't matter who you are. If that ice is going to crack and you're going to fall through, you're going to fall through regardless of your position or your status or your money. And in the Arctic and in the polar regions, the ego gets you killed. So you need to check your ego. Check your ego at the door and focus on what's around you and focus on using your resources. Yes, Mira, and that's also Ferrari. And using your resources. Survival requires humility. You need to be humble in order to survive, especially in the polar regions. Let go of what doesn't matter. You just need to let go and don't hold on to things that don't matter to you. It's for a good example is like, for example, these polar explorers when they first were going to the North Pole, and it was like the British team and then the Norwegian team, and then the British team were traveling with dogs, and then they had a situation where they had some issues and they didn't want to, after they got stuck, I think it was, I can't remember his name, I can find out after, but they got stuck and they were trapped with their dogs, and they didn't want to eat the dogs for the protein, so they basically didn't survive. But the Norwegian team, they stuck, they were still trying to reach the pole, they ate their dogs, they survived, they lived to tell another day. So you have to be humble. And of course, I don't agree with eating dogs, but I'm just saying, like, in the situation where they had the life or death, they chose to live over dying. So this was a very interesting story. I think it was, who was that? I can't remember that. I think it was, the names, Amundsen maybe? For the Norwegian team, when they were reaching the poles, there was a big race to reach the poles. And I think this was when they were trying to reach the Antarctica. And then there was to see who could reach it first, and they were racing, and there's just about how, the ego can stop you from doing certain things. So it's important to let the ego go and just focus on being you, and focus on being present, and focus on being humble. And that's ego. Now let's talk about help. Why asking for help is not a weakness, it's how you survive. Asking for help is not a weakness, it's a survival skill. I learned this the hard way, the very, very hard way. The myth about self-reliance. Yes, we all think that we can do everything ourselves. Hello, hi Damien. We all think we can do everything ourselves, but no one does anything by themselves, and no one is an island. So you need to, like someone told me, a very important mentor told me, like, what's the point of having a network if you don't use your network? Like, what's the point? So the point is to build up a network of people, of friends, partners, associates that you can count on, that you can call when you need help and support. And hello, Breadcrumb Gang. How's everything? Good morning. Thanks for joining me today. And like, we can only do so much. And the smartest way is that you focus on what you do well, and you let others focus on what they do well. And then you work together and you trade. So for example, if I have a place where I have animals and I have cows and I produce milk, for example. I should just focus on doing milk. Why would I try to do chickens and produce eggs if I have cows? It doesn't make sense. And then perhaps maybe you have chickens. So then you focus on chickens, you focus on eggs, and then we trade. So this is like, how can one person be self-reliant in everything? Like you need to specialize and focus, develop your skills. And like now it seems like the time where like even people, especially with the AI, it's like taking many jobs. Of course, it can do many things that people had to study for a long time to do. And now AI does it very quickly. So these people who study, for example, with programming or these computer jobs, and now the AI can do it so much quicker, then what's going to happen? So it's going to be important for us to not just depend on university degrees or degrees, period. We're going to have to find skills, like hard skills, growing food, learning how to do things where we have a skill where we can, that someone else can't take and that we specialize in and that we focus in. And the turning point for me was like, I don't like asking for help. I really don't like asking for help. And I just like, it's a thing for me where I don't want to owe anybody. Okay. It's Mira and Ferrari again. I don't want to owe anybody. So that's why I don't like to ask for anything. But then that's also not a good thing, because who do I think I am? I think I'm so self-reliant that I don't need to ask for help. So it took me a long time to learn how to ask for help. And like, you shouldn't worry about asking for help, because when you help someone, then maybe they will help you with something. What do you do in your channel? In this channel, I have a lot of experience on the polar regions. So I live I'm from Ohio, from the US, and then I moved to Malaysian Borneo, which was really nice. I'm a chef. So I traveled around the world, and then I cooked in different places. And then I worked on expedition cruise ships going to Antarctica. So then that was really nice. So I got to see penguins and, many different things down there. And then we were based in Ushuaia, which is the southernmost city in the world. And then they asked me, do you want to go to the Arctic? So they had ships that went to Svalbard. So then I got invited and I went to Svalbard, which is Spitsbergen, and that's the northernmost city in the world. And I was cooking there at the hotels, cooking on ships, cooking in restaurants there. And I lived there in Svalbard for over 14 years. And then I moved here to Norway in Lofoten, where now I have my own cafe. I do food tours, and I also just share my experience. I wrote a book, and I have this AI coaching app. So yeah, that's pretty much what I do. And I never wanted to ask for help, but I've learned I'm still learning how to ask for help. And the turning point was when I was building my project on Svalbard. So what we did on Svalbard is this place. It's like a very remote location. It's the northernmost city in the world, 78 degrees north. And everything is imported. So there's nothing that's from there. We have some small reindeers there. We have some birds. What are they called? Pheasants, I guess. Would it be pheasants? Yeah, I think it's pheasants, or similar to pheasants, like a wild bird. There's some Arctic foxes. There's some walrus, but there's not really much you can eat. And there's a lot of fish. But before, they wouldn't regulate the fishing business, so you couldn't sell the fish, and which was very strange because of the rules. So then people would catch the fish, take it away, and then we could only buy it back frozen. But recently they changed that, where you can now buy the fish from there. But I left 5 years ago, so I'm not up to date on all of the present rules. But anyways, when I was there, everything had to be imported. And not only that, but all of the waste and trash had to be sent back to mainland Norway. So it's just insane. And then all of the organic waste goes out into the sewage, right into the sea. So it was just like me. I was thinking the best situation would be that we leave Svalbard, because there's no point for us to be there. It's like, just let it turn back into the nature. But the challenge is that it's very strategic. There's a lot of satellite stations there. They can see stuff everywhere. And it's a very strategic location, so that people will never leave there. So the next best solution would be to find a way to be there where we are there a little bit better than we are now. So that's why I was thinking to try to grow local food. We didn't even have any local food there. All of the fresh food came up by plane and everything else by boat. So we were growing local food, salads and herbs and different things like that, selling it to the restaurants and the supermarkets. And then I got to sleep. It's okay. Good night, Breadcrumb. Thank you so much for checking in. Yeah, take care. Okay. come back maybe next week, Wednesday, we'll see you, or just keep in touch, okay? And then I was growing the food there. Then what happened was I was finding a better way, because even if I grew the food, then we still would dump the organic waste into the sea. Because whatever you put into the toilet, or whatever you put, like we would have garbage disposals in the house, and you grind up all of the waste and it just goes out into the sea. So it's like all of this organic waste material is just lost to the sea. And then I started to compost. So it's just like I was using permaculture to just figure out smart solutions to make the place, our time there, better. So we would grow the food, we would sell it to the hotels, restaurants, then we would collect it back, and then we would compost it, and then we would use that to grow some more food. So it was really cool. But there were so many things I didn't understand. I mean, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a, electrician. So I would get to a point where I would have to ask for help, and I wouldn't know what to do with the next step. I ordered a greenhouse. It was like a dome greenhouse. I ordered it from Alaska. I tried to find in Scandinavia, but it wasn't so easy. So I ordered it from Alaska. I didn't know what to do with this greenhouse. So then I asked, the right people always came at the right time. So someone would come, they helped me get to the next step. Then I would have to ask for help. Then I would get to the next step. Then something else would happen. And then I would get to the next step. So it was like, that was a turning point for me. It changed my mind that like I can't do anything by myself. I need people. I have to have people. And that's help. And finally, tools. So what the Arctic taught me about machines, tools, and trusting the system. This is my AI coaching app there. The machine doesn't care who you are. It responds to what you do. That changed how I see tools. So what I learned about tools is like tools are just neutral. They respond to input, not identity. They don't care who you are. They don't care how you identify yourself. They just respond to what input you give them. And the important thing to remember is that you use these tools to build a system. And once you build the system, you have to learn how to relax, let go of control, and follow your system, trust your system. That's the whole point of the system. Why build a system and then you don't use it, you don't trust it, right? So it's super important. And like, it took me, like even my AI coaching app, I built it like 5 years before I even knew what I was going to do with it. Like I just knew that, yes, Mira, that's my dog. Yeah, go, Mira, go. So I built it like 5 years before I even knew what to do with it. And like, I just knew I would need it. And then what I did was I wrote a book. So I used my book to train my AI coaching app. So my AI coaching app is built around my book. My book is called Chew on This, Arctic Food for Thought and Lessons for Success. So I wrote about my experience. It's like 10 lessons about what I've learned from my doing business on Svalbard. I wrote a book about it, and then I turned that book into my AI coaching app. So this is an app where basically I check in, or people can check in twice a day, 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening. And using these principles I learned, it guides you to follow your own dreams and build up your own business, or build up whatever it is you want to do. Find your own destiny. And even though I have these tools, like a lot of times, like I just didn't know the right combination to put them. And that's where the system was missing. So you can have tools, but if you don't have a system, then the tools don't really serve much of a purpose. So they're only good when you can use them. And I'm not like saying that like AI is everything, but like I think there's some uses for it. And of course, it will never, like I guess we come into some kind of issues when it starts to take people's jobs. But then I guess there's different ways to look at it. Like you can look at it as from a employee's perspective, where you're worried that it's going to take your job, or you can look at it from an employer's perspective, where you're learning how to use it to get more things done. And for me, I feel like AI is going to help a lot of smaller businesses, because for me, like things that I do now, that I can do now with AI, it took me like 3-4 people that I would have to pay, like consultants or like from Fiverr. I used to use a lot of people from Fiverr. Now I can just do a lot of things by myself. So I don't really need to have so many people helping me. And it really saved me a lot of time. It really helped me to get my system together. Now I trust the system. Now I just like need to just step back and just build it. That's what I'm doing now. So it took me a long time to figure out, okay, I'm coming. It took me a long time to figure out which way to go and how to build this. But now I feel like I'm getting control. My system's in place, and I'm just learning how to trust it and not get in my own way. Like a lot of times I get in my own way and I doubt myself, but I think this is normal. I think it's normal to doubt ourselves and to, build something and then say, oh, is it good enough? Always second guess ourselves. So the important thing is to let go and just trust that your system's going to work. And yeah. So like I said before, remember everything I do is at polarchefben.com. I have tours, my cafe, community. Scan the code. It's all there. Subscribe if you haven't. And I'll see you next week. So here's what I've learned. The ice doesn't care who you are. Asking for help keeps you alive. And the machine just responds to what you do. That's the thread. That's the lesson. I'll leave you with that. So I spent 20 years in the polar regions. I've learned a few things. Here's what I know. The Arctic doesn't care about your ego. Neither does the machine. It just responds to what you do. So show up, do the work, and ask for help when you need it. That's how we survive. And that's how you lead. Okay, I'll see you next Wednesday at 6 a.m. Bring something warm. Thank you so much and have a nice day.